It's 1:30. I'd like to call the meeting of the Traffic and Transportation Commission for October 16, 2023 to order. We'll go ahead and do roll call. Go to Commissioner Varnell.
Here.
Commissioner Littlefield. Present. Commissioner Long is not available. Commissioner Hale.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Schuline.
Here.
Go to Commissioner Wynn.
Here.
Go to Commissioner George.
Here.
And Commissioner Cornett.
Here.
Thank you very much. Can I have a motion concerning the minutes of the September 18th, 2023 meeting?
Move approval of the minutes?
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner George to approve the minutes,
Second.
second by Commissioner Schuline. Any discussion? Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner George, seconded by Commissioner Schuline. Your votes, please. Okay. 7 in favor, 1 abstained, and 1 not here. Item is approved. Okay, we go reports of the Traffic Services Division in Counselor's Office. Sir?
All right, at the April
Microphone.
thank you. At the April 17th meeting, the commission requested a monthly report on the traffic signals approved and waiting for funding. As you can see in the report, we have 4 signals that have been funded using various city funds and ARPA funds, and we should be getting on those in the near future. We've also, the yield and parking is in the report, and we've recently installed our first ASAP speed hump at 2700 Elmhurst. We've got 7 speed humps that have been ordered and are waiting shipping. We've got 6 in hand. It's a slow process, and this one, we were out there putting it up on Wednesday, and Wednesday afternoon, we had an Action Center item already asking us if these were approved. So it is out there, it's on Elmhurst, and we shall see.
And what's the speed for that hump?
Well, the speed limit for the neighborhood is 25,
Okay.
so
What's the hump rated at somewhere?
Mary took it at 35 in her little car.
Was it a fun ride, Mary? Good.
So,
Anybody have anything on this with the staff? Okay. How about the counselor's office? You have anything? All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
There's no items on the consent docket, so we go to items for individual consideration. We need to vote for the election of officers starting on 1 November for up here for the chairman and the vice chair.
Move to keep Commissioner Kula as the chairman and Commissioner Hale as the vice chair.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Wynn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schuline. Any discussion? Any other people who would like to take it, please? No?
No thanks.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Wynn, seconded by Commissioner Schuline. Kula stays as chairman, and Hale stays as vice chair. And we're ready to vote when we're ready. Well, it's probably me then. No, it's all of us. Here it comes. The second was Commissioner Schuline. Okay, your votes, please. Item is approved with all in favor. Okay, we go on now to item 5B. Wade Gorley, who's the Chief of Police for the Oklahoma City Police Department, to consider recommendations of several things, several ordinance changes, etc. And it'll be up on the screen here in just a second. Here it is. Do we have anybody here to speak on this? Hello, Major. Can I have your name and address, please?
Dan Stewart, 700 Colcord Ave. So I'm speaking on behalf of Chief Gorley in reference to an ordinance amendment to 32-1, which would amend the motorized scooters. This essentially mirrors the state ordinance or the state law that passed November 1st of 2022. So the biggest, what I would say the most significant thing is that the state law says that you can have operate a motorized scooter at age 14, where we are proposing age 16. The other things mirror state law identically as far as not riding on sidewalks, and then obeying traffic laws, and then also not driving a scooter on a road posted higher than 40 miles an hour.
So, sir, for me, so those green scooters that we see out in the city kind of thing,
Correct.
they can actually do 25 miles an hour on the road?
I think 35 is what
Wow.
we're told they can go. I mean,
Right.
I don't know.
But just in the downtown area, it's 30 anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if the companies allow them to go 35, but it's my understanding they have the capability to go up to 35 miles an hour.
Okay. Do we have any other questions on this, ma'am?
If that's the case, if they can only go 35, I guess why is there a limitation on slower vehicles on a 40 mile per hour? And I know that that sounds like a ridiculous question, but I just don't know, does that open the door for us to then reconsider things like bicycles or e-bikes or things in the future that are slower modes of transportation on roads that are over a certain speed limit? Yeah.
You know, this deals directly with the scooter. I think it spells out, I don't think e-bikes are. Under the definitions, I don't believe e-bikes are covered, but I just want to look at it. 2 or 3-wheeled motor vehicle, 12 inches or greater, seating, footrest. So I don't know that this covers bicycles. So I don't think we're in danger of anything here. I don't know what could subsequently come, down the pike, but I don't think that's not the intention of this.
Yeah.
Well, and is it a shared a road kind of thing where they're in the road, or do they have to stay to the right like a bicycle?
I mean, they have to obey all traffic laws, so it'd be a share the road type of thing. We would hope they'd stay to the right, but they could, according to the ordinance, if they're obeying all traffic laws, they could ride in the middle of a street. And that, if it's a 50-mile-an-hour street, we wouldn't want them on
Right,
there
of
if they don't
course.
have the ability to do that.
But going downtown in Bricktown, et cetera, they would be in the road, go up to a stop sign and stop, just like, or a stop sign or a red light or anything, and then when it's green, they would go and they would have a spot in the road that would be theirs. Whereas a bicycle, sometimes it's to the right and it's a shared a road where you can pass it kind of thing.
Well, yeah, a bicycle has the same
Obligations.
as, like I can ride down the middle of a lane. I usually don't. If I had, I'd like to get over a little bit, but sometimes that's not feasible. So,
Right.
Yeah, so scooters can be the same thing. I just want to make sure we're not opening the door that, like,
That's not our intent.
Yeah.
We have no discussion.
Sure.
This was passed November
Yeah.
1st of 22, and
Sure.
it was on our radar to get this updated.
yeah,
The biggest thing is we really have no good enforcement mechanism, and this gives us that.
allows us, yeah. I totally agree.
And then the 14-year-old to 16-year-old, is that because they're going to be on the road now? We want them to be 16?
Well, that's part of it. I would argue that 14 is probably a little too young to let them ride a scooter on a road, so that's kind of the belief behind it. Ideally, a 16-year-old would be a licensed driver, assuming, they go through that process.
Then the last thing is a helmet reacquired.
No, there is no stipulation in any of the statute or city ordinance.
Okay. So then would we assume then that these companies that have the apps would have some sort of verification of age kind of thing, or is it they don't really care? Is that, I don't even know how it is now per se with the app.
I don't think we would rely on the company. We would, and when we engage them, we would ascertain that information at that time.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on this ordinance? No? Anybody else want to speak on this ordinance? On this item 5B? Okay, staff, do you have any more input?
No, sir, the major covered it pretty well.
All right, thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, can I have a motion concerning item 5B?
Motion for approval?
I heard you
Varnell.
first, so Varnell, approve, and we'll give Hale the second. Any discussion on 5B? Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner Varnell, seconded by Commissioner Hale, and we're ready to vote here in a second. Here we go, vote. Item is approved, but all in favor. Okay, we go on now to item 5C. Again, Wade Gorley, Chief of Police for Oklahoma City, to consider some ordinance changes. And there it is up on the screen. And ma'am, if I could have your name and address, please?
It's Audrey George, 700 Colcord, and I too am here on behalf of Chief Gorley.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so we are here to discuss the proposed amendment change to persons authorized to direct traffic. Currently, City Code Section 3232 authorizes officers of the police department and any officer designated by the chief of police to direct traffic by voice, hand, or signal. The proposed amendment would further authorize civilian employees designated by the chief of police to direct traffic by voice, hand, or signal for the specific purpose of regulating processions and special events. This amendment would allow police service technicians and ambassadors who are part-time civilian employees in the Uniform Support Division to direct traffic during special events. So several events require a large number of officers. We just conducted the Hot Chocolate Run this past Sunday. It required 77 officers to make the event safe for the citizens. In addition, the number of events are increasing in the city. So far this year, we have scheduled officers for 113 events. So the police department continues to experience staffing issues, and we are continuing to review areas in which we believe civilian employees can be utilized to perform functions that allow police officers to focus on more law enforcement-related tasks.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Anybody else wanted to speak on item 5C? All right, yes, sir.
I'm naive, so we'll start out with that. Where do school crossing guards get their authority and training or?
Well, so they are in a crosswalk and they use a handheld stop device. They are paid through by the school system. And so they're in a crosswalk just like any civilian would be in a crosswalk.
So this doesn't impact their authority or ability?
sir.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a definition of a special events?
Well, special events are anything that is permitted by the city of Oklahoma City. And so we are then required to man those events with a sufficient number of officers to make them safe. And there are a lot of events in our city.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to hear.
All right, staff, do you have anything?
Well, the proposed ordinance is a result of work by the police department in support with the municipal counselor's office. It meets section 3232, persons authorized to direct traffic. Action is to refer an item to city council for a recommendation with approval.
All right, thank you. All right, do we have a motion concerning item 5C?
Move approval.
Where did that come from? Again. Oh, from Commissioner
Yeah.
George.
And I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion from Commissioner George, second by Commissioner Cornett. Do we have any talk on this item?
Just a real quick question.
Yes, sir.
The civilian employees, would they be required to take the traffic control for flaggers, get that certification as well?
So yes, we will make them do the flagger training provided by the Public Works people. And we will also use them with an officer until they have been trained sufficiently to my likings before we throw them into a situation that they might not be able to handle.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, any other comments on item 5C? We have a motion to approve from Commissioner George, seconded by Commissioner Cornett. We're ready to vote. and item has passed. Would all in favor? Okay, we go on now to item 5D, Kyle Merriweather, Whips and Furs Costumes, to convert the 45-degree reverse angle parking back to head-end parking. Do we have anybody here to speak on this item? Yes, sir. If I could have your name and address, you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Sure. Burl Beasley. I'm at 2215 Northwest 39th Street, Suite 300. I'm a business owner there. Thank you, Chairman and Commission members, for allowing me to speak. I am in favor for changing the parking back to 45-degree angle parking for several reasons then too. As a business owner on 39th Street, I've seen and I have taken photographs of the parking situation. My own particular survey, 1 in 4 people are parking correctly. That means 75% are not parking the way that it was intended. Education has not worked. So we've put these out, and what these serve to do is they serve to anger my customers. They also deter my business because they think they're getting a parking ticket and they're not going to come back because they think they're getting a ticket. So that was the other rumor that was going around then too. So I applaud the measure to try and educate the public. And we've tried, and I've, personally been, literally people have gotten out of their car to tell me that I'm parking incorrectly. This past weekend, I went out and asked the woman to, hey, by the way, did you know that this is a reverse parking? Oh yeah, I remember last time. My husband told me. Well, you still did it again. So and the other thing then too, it's a district. So we get people from all over. I've gotten, families coming in to see the murals, which are great, the Route 66 and all that stuff, and they don't have it in other cities, so they don't understand the parking. So that's been an ongoing issue outside of my business then as well. I think the other issue was the, which I think is a great idea, and I have all kinds of ideas, but sometimes all of my ideas aren't good ones. So maybe we just have to rethink the parking of this, because I think the other thing was it was a safety issue for bicyclists. The issue with that is if the people aren't parking correctly, now you can't see because you've been blocked by that truck that's parked. You're parked correctly, and now you can't see to move out, and now you're going to try and hit somebody or hit a bicyclist then too. So those are just some of the issues that I've observed with the parking issues at my business and in the area, and I brought this to the 39th Street Board District meeting then too as well. I think if we don't pass it and we continue with the parking the way it is, I would suggest that we put speed humps in like you previously saw, because that will make people stop and see those signs, because people don't read those signs. They do not see, they don't see the signs then too. So for those reasons, I would propose that we change the parking back to the original 45-degree angle parking. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time, sir. Do you have anybody else that wanted to speak up here? Okay, staff?
This item was continued from April 17th meeting. At the meeting, the commission voted to defer it for 6 months. Following that meeting on May 1st, Commissioner Littlefield sent staff a request for a monthly status report from Public Works and Planning Department and the Business District about the actions taken by all parties, and wanted to achieve a compliance over the course of 6 months. By the time of rehearing the case, Commissioner Littlefield indicated there needed to be at least 70% compliance rate to consider keeping the reverse angle parking. In response to Commissioner Littlefield's request, the Traffic Division and Planning Department staff provided monthly reports on the work to improve signing, pavement markings, and public outreach efforts. These reports are included at the end for reference. According to the October 4th memo from Planning Department staff, the average reverse angle parking compliance rate since monitoring started on May 31st stands at 56%. Since the approval of reverse angle parking on 39th Street, the Commission has received one other application for reverse angle parking. It was submitted by Tim Johnson, president of Johnson & Associates, on behalf of the developer of Page Woodson Project. They requested 45-degree reverse angle parking on the north side of 4th Street between Kelly and Stonewall. The requested proposed used an 11-foot wide reverse angle parking space using the City of Tulsa standards. This is not at this point been constructed yet. The Traffic and Transportation Commission's standard operating policies and procedures do not require a petition for the type of change requested. At the Public Works direction, the applicant has provided documentation demonstrating 82% of local businesses on 39th Street between Youngs Boulevard and Pennsylvania Avenue support the requested change. For commission actions where a petition is required, applicants must demonstrate at least 67% of all parties within the required petition canvas area must indicate support for the request. Reconfiguring of the angled parking on 39th Street between Youngs Boulevard and Pennsylvania Avenue from the reverse angle to standard head-in will not change the number of angled parking spaces nor the locations of reserved parking spaces for the physically disabled. Action on this matter is at the discretion.
All right. Can we have a motion concerning item 5D?
I move to deny the application. In other words, retain the reverse angle parking.
We have a motion to deny item 5D from Commissioner Littlefield. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cornett. All right, sir?
As you all know, I could go on for a long time on this subject, and I'll try to keep it as brief as I possibly can. This 6 months period has been an eye-opener in many ways. I'll address the most obvious one first, which is the 70% compliance goal that we had. And how that was established was 3 people, the planning director, at the time a representative from the 39th Street District, and myself, sitting in an office after the continuance was granted to talk about, well, how do we want to shape this next 6 months? What are we looking for? And the 70% compliance was just thrown out. It wasn't given any scientific, mathematical, statistical consideration whatsoever. It was just something at the end of the conversation we thought, well, we need to have some measure of what is successful. And not being funny, but somebody reminded me a couple of weeks ago that world leaders are elected on 51%. So we feel as though that there were enough opportunities in those counts where it approached 70% well enough on instances to, in theory, accomplish 70%. That's one comment that I want to make. The other comment that I want to make is we've been educated over the past 6 months from staff members that there are other safety advantages to reverse angle parking besides just addressing the bicyclists. And the way I want to reinforce that, my partner and I were really hungry one Saturday a few weeks ago, and I have been wanting to try the bistro. I love Reuben sandwiches, and finally about 3 o'clock one Saturday afternoon, we had an opportunity to do just that. There were vehicles parked there. We have a huge F-150 extended cab, long bed pickup that we reverse angled parking between those 2 vehicles with little effort at all. The way the chassis is built on that truck, it allowed for the vehicle to get much farther off the road than if it had been front angle parking. We got out, we went in, the meal was outstanding. I want everybody to know that. There were 2 employees there that we were the only ones, and these 2 employees, and we got to visiting. And I just shared who I am. And I'm there to eat, but I also want to get your opinion on this reverse angle parking. And the opinion from both of them was, it confuses people. It takes time to get used to, all the things that we've heard here. But the one most important thing that we can't measure and that we haven't considered and we haven't studied and we haven't asked for data on is, yes, people are frustrated trying to do it, but what are they experiencing when they're departing from it? We ate, we got in that truck, we put it in drive. It was the safest, coolest departure of a parking space that I've ever experienced in my 68 years. How do you get those people to come back and say, yeah, this is kind of like parallel parking, it's not easy to do, but wow, was it ever great when I did it right and left, and the safety environment from there. So I could go on with more reasons why. I know that that our Oklahoma City planning staff has worked very, very hard to develop reverse angle parking and give it this try to apply it in the future for more than just bicycle safety. I know that my city councilman is adamant about keeping this reverse angle parking at this location, and therefore I made the motion to deny reverting back. And one other comment that I want to make is, with all the years that I've been sitting here and the years I've been involved in the planning commission meetings and other meetings, rarely do things get accomplished or changed just because somebody doesn't like something. There has to be more teeth into arguing, changing something one way or the other, besides just we don't like it. There are no traffic-related accidents in the past 6 months to this reverse angle parking intact there. There have been no indications whatsoever that these parking spaces are being ignored at peak hours because it's too difficult to park in them and people are parking in other areas. The spaces are continually full. They're being occupied. I would like to see it stay, and I look forward to hearing your opinions as well. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else wanted to speak on this item?
You all know my thoughts on this, but I think that overturning it would be regressive. But I think I would love to see more and more of this throughout the city. I know that this is something we've talked about with the planning department and getting more opportunity for people to be exposed to it. Other cities do this and do it well. I mean, Tulsa has it all over, Norman has it all over. So we're starting to see this in neighboring cities. And as we start talking about rolling it back and not having an opportunity for people to gain exposure here either, then I think that that's sending us in the wrong direction. I think that this is something that definitely should stay for all of the reasons that you mentioned, Commissioner Littlefield. Thank you.
All right, anybody else wanted to speak on this item?
I'd also like to talk. I first want to compliment Burl on his restaurant, because it is a game changer in the district. It is a phenomenal place. He has beautiful landscaping. It would make anyone, Cheevers or any other restaurant, proud of the landscaping and stuff. The food is excellent. I highly recommend it too. And with that being said, I know that change is hard and it's uncomfortable sometimes, but sometimes a little bit of uncomfort over this parking situation is outweighed by the greater good and the safety that it does provide, not just for bicyclists. I know that's what it's kind of been presented for, but also for pedestrians. I'm old. I don't like to back up, and I like Rob. I went up last night to kind of check out the district, do a little site visit, and it had the same experience. The first time I tried it, I kind of missed the lines a little bit. But yesterday, I backed in smoothly, and driving out was so much more comfortable than it was having to back into 2 lanes of traffic. So with that said, I very much respect all the businesses up there. I'm excited to see that I'm sorry that Kyle's business is not there any longer, but in its place, there are now 2 new businesses, a record shop and a salon, and across the street, a new in the old pizza place is now an art gallery, so there's excitement about a new coffee shop. So economic development is really occurring with other commercial districts that the city has supported and encouraged. It's really coming to 39th, and I don't think that the reverse angle parking has hurt it. If anything hurts it, I think it's the homeless situation, and that's kind of beyond our control. But again, thanks to Burl and all the other business owners up there, but I also want to support continuing as is.
Okay, anybody else wanted to speak on this item? Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to, thanks. I was just going to say, sounds great, but you know, when you have the businesses that make that area up, 82% want to change it back to the way it was, okay? 82, not 51, not the 53 that's actually parking correctly, which means 47% are not parking correctly right now. I mean, I just can't see keeping it just because we like the idea, because it's cool, it's something new. I mean, 82% of the businesses want it changed back. I cannot vote to keep it the way it is. There's no way. My 2 cents.
Okay, sir?
Would want to see if maybe planning can come up, talk a little bit about, just a little more on the report, because looks like, just looking at the numbers, looks like the compliance rate's actually kind of trending down from where we were, maybe a little higher earlier on. So is it going to continue trending down where we at? And then also just globally, when we have reverse angle parking in other cities, what's the compliance rate there? Because if 70 is where they're at and they've been established for 10, 15 years, were we, to Commissioner Littlefield's point, were we too lofty in our goals?
So, sir, if I could have your name and address?
Sure, Justin Henry, 420 West Main, City Planning Department. So we did do a little bit of digging about compliance rates in other city. There's not a lot of good measurements for that yet. I would say that one thing to note is that parking compliance in general is probably often below 70%. We see a lot of problems with, parallel parking and angled parking as well, people parking over lines, people parking the wrong direction on parallel parking as well. Often sees it at Scissortail Park on the weekends, for instance. People parking in the hashed out areas. So, parking compliance is always a bit of an issue. I would say that what we have seen when we looked at some of our peers is that it's a safety element. We see reduction in crashes when these elements are put in place. Reverse angle parking, the most dangerous element of parking in an on-street parking space is the reversing back into the parking. It's why parallel is also safer as well, is because you just have increased visibility when you're leaving the space. I wish I did have better numbers for you about other cities' compliance rates, but just some of our observations. Okay, thanks.
All right. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Respectfully, Commissioner George, in hindsight, if I ever find myself representing an item in my ward again where I'm requesting a 6 months continuance, I'm going to ask for a lot more study than just sit and wait and see what changes. The petition at the time showed 82%. Where we are today, in a very informal way, again, kind of like the 70% compliance goal, there is a past member or an inactive member of the business association over there who contacted me and a staff member, Kim Cooperhart, in the planning department about, I'd kind of like to go back and revisit that petition. Is there a way that I could get a copy of it? So we sent him a copy of the petition. And he called me and he said that he did reach out to those that were available on that, and that the complexion has changed. That it's, we didn't get a determination whether it was a majority in favor or opposed or whatever. Some of the businesses aren't there anymore that were on that petition. So that might not be the fairest single litmus test to use in making a decision of whether or not this is the opinion there today.
And I just want to tack onto that is that business owners don't always know what they don't know. And it's our planning department, it's their position to say this is what is best for this area. The people who designed, the engineers who designed that entire hardscape there, they're the ones who said this is what is best for this area. So even though business owners are saying, whoa, 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 this is something different than we have anywhere else, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is worse for that area. It's not. We've got all of the experts saying that it's not worse. It is, in fact, better for every person other than the people who are just not used to it.
Would you be willing to modify your motion to delay for 30 days so another survey could be done by somebody?
Jeff Butler, Kim Cooperhart, myself, and a representative from the Business Association met a couple of weeks ago. And one of the things that was brought up in that conversation by staff was a willingness for them to take 90 more days and spend some money and do some research into reverse angle parking statistics, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. But the challenge with that is that it's such a new concept that there aren't really, apparently there aren't enough statistics and studies out there to show its effectiveness one way or the other. But what does exist, and I could only put it in a gruesome way that made sense to me, it's kind of like the forensic studies of the way the bullet entered, you know, then the blood spatter. There's those kinds of statistics that she offered would be willing to bring forward as support of reverse angle parking being a positive thing. So I would want input from staff on that question before I would change my motion, I believe.
Well, because we have to go back to the start. When this first came up, I'll say I, and some of us were not wanting it. And I think and we had to wait like a month because we had them change the way that the cement was. So if we wanted it to go back, there'd be no cost. You just have to move the paint. So therefore, we had a doubt in our heads if it would work. And then when we got the word that it was not being followed, and then we listened to the 6-month hold and the education effort, and then we've seen the results of the education effort, and that the numbers have gone down over the time, and that at the time, 6 months ago, 82% of the businesses wanted to go back. I think with just those facts, then we need to go back because we weren't really sure of it in the first place, some of us, and the data has shown that it's not working. So I would be willing to accept another recanvass of the businesses and some more extra work to get more data before we change anything, because once we change it, it's not going to go back. You know, so I would be willing that if there is a want for the effort, then I would be willing, month, 2 months, whatever everybody thinks would be the right time, because if we disapprove your disapproval, or whatever it is, if we say go back, then it's never going to be the reverse angle there at that location, and then it also hurts for the education on 4th Street or 4th for that next one. So that's my point.
And I appreciate your point. Staff, are you aware of what I shared about the conversation?
Some of it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we would be willing to do a little more research. We could present an option that was suggested was speed bumps. I don't know if that's appropriate given that it's a collector road, but we could look at some of the traffic calming elements that might reduce speeds and make it more comfortable to do the reverse angle parking as well.
With respect for the chairman, I think what we might be asking for is just more data.
Okay. Yeah. We can find more data.
And it would seem to me that 90 days is what was explained to me would be required to accomplish funding to get that data and time to accumulate that data. There's other programs that are happening in the city right now that I'm certainly not an authority to speak on, but there's a net zero program. There are things that are coming to the city as we speak that could support this that we can't make a comment on now, but if we had more time, maybe in 90 days, that there would be some value in that.
Well, and then one of the concerns of this whole thing was the 39th district thing you talked about. What's that organization again?
It's a business organization.
Right. Mm-hmm. We haven't really received a lot of input from them, I believe. Am I right?
We did at the initial hearing.
Right.
And I've attempted to find out who is sort of in charge there now, and have been unable to accomplish that. So, you know, I'm in total agreement with you. I think a review, a fresh petition would be important to do alongside this, yeah.
So I would be asking to modify your motion to do like a 90-day hold of this while planning gets some more work, our staff gets a little bit more work, businesses can have more input, that 39 business thing can figure out what they want, and then we would have the full data that we need if we're gonna make such a change. Because once it's gone, it's gone.
I understand. You had your hand up?
Yeah, I just have a couple of comments then too. Again, Pearl Beasley, 2215 Northwest 39th. I agree with you that it is in other cities, and you know it's a cool thing to have. I would suggest that the research look at the number of lanes in those cities then as well, because we're only 2 lanes, so there's really not enough room. When you park in the reverse parking angle with your SUV, you had to go into the other lane then as well to pull around then too, JB, as you probably noticed then too. And then cars whiz by you for that reason then too, as you're trying to pull in. So I do agree that I think it's a cool thing to do, but as a business owner, the ones that are parking correctly are the businesses that are there. So that means that as a destination, which we're wanting, we get people from out of town, they don't understand it, it's confusing. If it's the same people coming to the office every day, then it wouldn't be a problem. The issue is if we got all these out-of-towners, they're coming to the Boom to see the drag show, they don't understand it, and it's just different people all the time. They just don't get it. And I agree with you, they just don't get it. So I just wanted to make that assumption then too. And if you're doing the research on it, look at those other cities. They probably have a median like Classen where they have enough room to do that. 39th Street, you've just got those 2 lanes, and it's just taking up too much room to do that. I would also respectfully propose, if this doesn't pass, that we look into putting those humps in. So that way people can stop and see and realize, oh, there's something going on here, because that's the only way you're going to be able to get people to change their behavior. As I say previously, you know, I'm actually a medication expert. I'm an ex-pharmacist, so I know how to change people's behavior. And one of the worst things the least effective way to change people's behavior is to educate. So you have to put those speed bumps, those barriers in, so they can understand how to park. So again, I agree with everything that's been said, but if we don't do something to mitigate people or show them how to park, then we're going to have this conversation over and over and over again. So thank you.
So before you go,
Yes,
so
sir.
do you agree that it would be beneficial to give it 90 more days where
I do.
we could take the time and recreate a new petition, like recreate the actual items sort of in a sense, and give staff an opportunity to come back with more whatever data is available on it?
I do. And
Okay.
I agree, yes. And again, I respectfully suggest that if we continue with this, then I would propose that we do those humps.
Okay. Then I make a motion to change my motion from, let me think it through.
No, let's just have the council help us. with
Okay.
In this instance, it might be easier, thank you, to just withdraw your motion and make another motion.
Okay,
It might be clear for everyone.
I withdraw my motion.
okay, and the second? Ma'am? Yes. Okay, so a motion from Commissioner Littlefield to disapprove item 5D, seconded by Commissioner Cornett, has been withdrawn. Do we have a motion concerning item 5B, or 5D?
I move for a 90-day continuance with the condition that as soon as possible, staff, planning, and public works, and whoever else may be involved to sit down and reestablish the goal for what we're trying to accomplish in the next 90 days.
Okay, do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Cornett. Any discussion on this?
I would just comment real quick, sorry, that the big part of this that we need to research is that there was I thought that 82% of the business owners, that's not a correct number. And so that would be the biggest part in my decision, I think. You know, if it drops down to 20% of the business owners want it changed, okay, but if it's 80%, I just can't vote to keep it. I mean, the business owners they're pouring their lives into those businesses, all their money, everything. If they think it's going to help to get front end parking back, to help their businesses out, even that one little bit can, a lot of times that can make some differences in businesses, small things like that. So that, to me, that's the big question mark. When we think, well, maybe it's not 82%, you think it's 82% though still?
Oh, hold on a second, sir. Sir, if you come up to the mic, there was a comment you made earlier, and then this comment.
Yes,
need to
thank
have it
you.
on the mic.
I do think it's 82% or even higher. And they're also to consider then as well, there's new businesses there as well. So I'd like to get their opinion then too.
Absolutely.
And we do go to every Tuesday, once a month on Tuesdays is the 39th Street Board District meeting.
Okay.
So that I attend, and I'll go to that and ask
Yes.
them to
Yeah.
participate in this as well.
Right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And does the staff do that also, or is it just up to them to furnish that information?
As an applicant, we asked for the petition in this case,
Right,
and they went out and got it.
okay.
We don't.
So it will be up to them. It'll be up to you to get those numbers.
I'll do it, yeah.
Furnish it to them.
Okay,
Yeah.
we can do that.
Thanks.
I'll go to the next meeting. Thank you.
Can we
Yes, sir.
also
Oh,
just?
hold on a second. Mr. Hale's been trying to talk here for a little bit. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would just ask that instead of it being the responsibility of the business owners, that it be responsibility of staff. And I would also ask that if this is approved, that it goes for the 90 days, that survey be done as close to that 90 days as possible, so we get fresh information for the next time we meet. I don't want stale information. If this 82% stale, I'd like to have it fresh right before that 90 days is up. I do respect boots on the ground, that these guys know exactly what's going on. They know the problems firsthand. So I'm like Commissioner George, I would put a lot of stock with the people that day in, day out that are going to be affected by this. So I'm thrilled that we're doing the 90 days.
Just for my clarification, would that be the January Traffic Commission? So
Well, this
When
is
was the-
October, November, December, January.
February.
But you would want the February, you think? Well,
If it's a
yeah,
90-day.
Yeah, right, and that'll get it through the holiday season and give everybody time in January to get it ready.
Thank you.
Just one more request on that. So I know that the DPS collision data we're kind of stalled out on that, and we haven't had any in a long time. So the most recent we've had is for the calendar year of 2021. Is there any way we can get collision data before this change and then after the change, or is that not accessible?
Yeah, it is possible. We're in communications with the Oklahoma City Highway Office that publishes that data. The 2022 data is overdue, and so we can ask you about that. But if not, we can always reach out to the police department as well and see what kind of data they have.
That'd be great. Just especially because this isn't a cool thing that we're trying to do. This is a safety thing that we are trying to accomplish, that if we actually had hard data on if it's effective, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
On the safety data as well, ODOT has recently changed systems from their previous system to a new one called Numetrics. They were changing during 22. So they got half of 22 in the old one and half of 22 in the new one. 21 is complete data, and 23 they have through, I just looked at it last week, September. So we should be able to have a before and after
Great.
for
That
that
would be
area.
wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on item 5D? We have a motion to delay to the February meeting, let's just pick a date, make it clear, to the February meeting from Commissioner Littlefield and seconded by Commissioner Cornett. Time to vote. All right, item has passed as stated and is moved to February with all in favor. Okay, we go on now to 5E. Jesse Rush, Assistant Director of Embark, to do some stop controls south and westbound. And the item is up on the screen so everybody can read it. Sir, if I could have your name and address?
Yeah, Jesse Rush, Assistant Director for Embark. Address is 2000 South Main. Good afternoon. So a little background on this item. So we're in the process of constructing and launching the Rapid Northwest, or the bus rapid transit system. Goes from downtown Oklahoma City all the way to Northwest Expressway and Meridian, where we have the park and ride location there. We also have this location that's on the screen here. This is, we affectionately called it the Triangle About. It's, could be a roundabout, but for now it's a triangle about. Part of our process is to take a look at it, and part of our process with the FTA is to do tests, and if there are any hazards or anything like that, identify those hazards and try to mitigate those as best as possible. So one of the hazards that we identified when we were doing this testing was traffic that's coming from the north traveling south, either from the kind of northeast traveling south or from the northwest traveling south, don't have any stop controls. And so when they come up to this Y, they can essentially go kind of to the right or to the left, but we don't really know which way they're going to go, right? So the proposed addition of the stop controls would stop traffic and give us an opportunity to try to determine if they're going to make a right or if they're going to continue south. The reason being why that's a hazard is because the bus rapid transit, to be able to make these corners, we've added some cutouts, right, that are specifically for the buses. And so we have to travel across traffic to be able to the left, travel across traffic to those cutouts. And we believe that adding these stop controls would slow traffic down, essentially stopping traffic and allowing us to be able to make that left turn a little bit more safely. Happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else that wanted to speak on this item? Yes, sir, please, come on up. Let me have your name and address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes, sir.
My name is Philip Comp, C-O-M-P, and I live at 5633 Northwest 121st Circle, Oklahoma City, which is directly behind the Patience Ladding Library. As some of the members of this commission have already found out, and others will, a job of the grandparent is to transport the grandchildren. Yeah, oh, you're fine. I appreciate how much work has gone into this plan to take this triangle and convert it into a way for the buses to turn around. I'm singularly impressed at how much work has gone into that. However, look at the map. I and my granddaughter are coming down Meridian from the north there, coming down, and now there are buses there, but we've got to turn on to Lake Hefner Drive. And we're sitting in that intersection. Now, take the steering wheel and turn your heads 170 degrees. My old neck can't do it. This corner has always been dangerous. I don't have a solution. It's bad to bring up a problem without having a solution, but I wish someone could take a look at this, because it's going to get confusing with those buses in there. They're going to block part of the view. And a lot of people, heaven forbid, use Lake Hefner Drive as a cutoff to get over to May Avenue. So there's a lot of fast traffic on that. Again, I'm just making an appeal for more good thinking about this. Because it impacts me and my 4-year-old granddaughter directly. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Anybody else wanting to speak on item 5E? Okay, staff input.
Thank you. Jesse Rush, the Assistant Director of Embark, has submitted this request to add the stop signs on 2 approaches. Traffic control at Meridian Avenue and South Lake Hefner Drive Junction is structured such that vehicles which stay to the right as they pass through the junction and never cross the path of other vehicles and are therefore assigned the right-of-way. Vehicles which veer to the left as they enter the junction are required to stop as they exit the junction. Embark is requesting the addition of stop controls and relocation of existing stop controls for the purpose of assigning right-of-way for the bus rapid transit vehicle at each of the 2 BRT turnback locations. The requested traffic control scheme results in an incomplete always stop configuration at 2 of the 3 corners of the triangular junction formed by North Meridian and South Lake Hefner Drive. The requested traffic control configuration does not meet any MUTCD control warrant and add stop control on 2 of 3 approaches at the triangular junction formed by Meridian Avenue and Lake Hefner Drive. Traffic engineering staff is concerned the intent of the traffic control requested, which is to assign exclusive right-of-way for the BRT, will not be apparent or understood by drivers and violate driver expectation, resulting in hazardous conditions. Further, the additional setback for the existing stop signs from the current locations will likely be misunderstood, resulting in drivers intuitively stopping at a point well beyond the relocated stop signs. Also, the BRT will be using that turnaround, and it's essentially a median opening. And people crossing through a median opening are expected to yield the right-of-way to through traffic on the main street. So this will present more confusion for drivers in the area. So for these reasons, staff does not have cause to recommend approval of these changes.
Okay. Yes, sir, please, come on up.
So this image is incorrect. We're not asking for the 2 stop signs inside the triangle. The existing stop signs would remain. That's right. No, they're further out. Yeah,
Well, sir, you're asking for them to be moved or stay where they're at?
stay where they're at. Additional stop signs. That's right. Yep. Yeah.
It's a confusing intersection, right?
It's agreed. Yep.
Okay, do you have any other comments, sir, on this?
That one's correct. Yeah, that one's correct.
Yeah. So there's
That's
clearly
the new
some
one.
confusion with
That's
the
the one that's
memo.
already there.
We've gone back and forth several times, and
Okay, so the map that's up there now, is that what you want?
not exactly.
I'm sorry?
Not exactly.
Okay,
So,
what's,
yep. So I can clarify. So there are 2 stop signs that are kind of inside the triangle. We don't want those. We're only asking to add the ones that are outside the triangles.
so,
Keep the
When-
ones that are there,
Yep,
just add the other 2, right? Okay.
you got it.
so they'll still stop, like,
That's correct.
when you look at the road that's going straight north, on the paper here, straight north, you want to add a stop sign just before the turnabout.
That's right.
There is a stop sign further, correct?
There
And we're going to
is.
keep that one too.
That's right.
So you want 2 stop signs there.
I would like to add 2 stop signs. Mary, if you can go to the memo that I added, right there, perfect. That's all I'm asking for, those 2 stop signs right there. The existing stop signs.
But not the
would
ones
remain.
inside.
Nope.
So,
Those
so the,
those
exi-
are already there, they would stay there.
so the existing stop signs,
Yes.
which are beyond the cut-through for the BRT,
That's right.
will remain where they're
That's
at.
correct, yep.
Okay, so,
And the stop sign going westbound nearest the fire station, that would stop all westbound traffic, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So you'd stop there and decide to go left or right.
Yep.
Same thing with the one coming from the north.
You got it, yep.
okay, but,
Thank you.
but what is their expectation when they stop? Who are they stopping for? I mean, so I'm coming up to a V in the road, and I stop.
Yep.
Now, the vehicles coming down from the right towards me have to stop also. You're saying,
right.
because there's a stop sign there now.
That's right, yep.
So who are we stopping for? So am I stopping to allow people to go by the firehouse there, or are they stopping to allow me to go left and go along that bottom part?
Yeah, the way I'm presenting it is it's to essentially slow down traffic in the area, right? And to stop, so when they stop, they make a decision. I'm either going to go right or I'm going to go left. That helps us, the transit agency, when the bus is trying to make that turn across, to be able to hopefully be able to determine if they're going to go right or they're going to come toward us, whether we need to stop or yield, something like that.
And I see it a different way. I see it, you're actually establishing right of way, which is what a stop sign is supposed to do. I don't see it as slowing down traffic. Because the problem is, and he even said a minute ago, is you stop there if you're going northbound and you literally have to look over your shoulder, which you can't, even at my younger age. And then you're stopping just to know what the guy coming at you is going to do.
Yep.
Because you have no clue until they're by you one way or the other.
You really don't have any idea.
That one coming at you is stopped.
It is, with this proposal, they'll stop.
Right, but then who has the right of way when both cars come up at the same time?
Well, that's normal standard rules, whoever's either there first or whoever's
Oh, I
on the
mean-
left. I can't remember what the rules are.
But if I'm coming down
If you're coming southbound,
It's
on
the
that
Oklahoma
right
stop,
one,
just wave 'em through.
and I stop, because there's a stop sign there now, and you're coming from the firehouse and you stop, and you want to go left along that bottom part, and I want to go towards the firehouse, right? Who goes? Because you also have cars coming around the bottom going that way. So,
well, right now, the person going southbound toward the fire station
yields to the
has to
vehicles.
wait to determine which way that car is going anyway. And
That's right, he could go left, or he's also, which is west. So the car going westbound, he has to wait for them, and he also has to wait for any eastbound traffic on that bottom road, okay?
the more and more I look about this, this makes a lot more sense than when I first read it.
See, I look at it the other way.
And I'm in that intersection every week.
Right.
Is it appropriate for me to speak on this without a motion?
Well, no, yeah, we were just getting clarification. So the map in the paperwork was not correct. This is the correct of what you,
That's what I'm requesting. Yep.
and that's what the words say in our motion, in our item.
Great.
To add a southbound stop control on North Meridian, and then to add a westbound stop control. That right there, items 1 and 2 is what you want. And that's what that one map shows.
Correct, yep.
Okay, so now that we have that, and there's no more questions about the item, we can now take a motion concerning 5E. So, Commissioner Littlefield.
I move to approve for the sake of opening some conversation.
Okay, it's a motion to approve by Commissioner Littlefield, second by Commissioner Barnell. Okay, go ahead, sir.
If you could come back up. I thought traffic circles were confusing until, so the goal of this is where a bus can turn.
Yep.
Why are we looking at a traffic circle here?
So we did. We looked at a traffic circle. It's about $1.5 million. Just with the project, couldn't afford it. And, sorry, let me add a little bit more to that. So this area is owned by the Utilities Department, Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust. And they've got a long-range plan to kind of redo this whole area and make it retail-oriented. And with that plan, they would be installing a roundabout.
Well, I appreciate hearing that.
Yep.
I just, I can't put $1.5 million on a grandfather's life.
Sure.
I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to resolve this for you folks. Sometimes patience is worth it, but it's confusing. I'm just going to let you know it's confusing to me.
Yeah, and that's really the reason for adding the stop signs. Like, we did a lot of studies out there. Folks are coming down through that way 45, 50 mile an hour. And there's really no, it's not an official study. I didn't have a radar gun. But, it feels dangerous, the speeds that folks are traveling through there. And we just feel like with the stop signs, that allow an opportunity for folks, specifically for us, for the BRT bus, to be able to cross that traffic.
There's one point that we don't have, one data point. How much is this going to be used by those buses?
By the buses, every 12 minutes, a bus will be making a left turn through there.
During peak hours.
Yeah, fair enough, yep.
Like, what do you mean?
So peak hours, 7 to 7, and then after 7 p.m., every 30 minutes.
Through the whole night?
Until midnight.
Until midnight.
Yep. Fridays and Saturdays till 2.
So I'm sorry?
Fridays and Saturdays till 2 a.m.
Right. So the only time there's no bus traffic is like 2 to 7 in the morning, and that's it.
Right.
And other than that, there's traffic, once every 30 minutes,
That's
and
right.
then every 12 minutes, you said? Or
Every 12 minutes.
Every
yeah.
12 minutes
Yep.
during the peak, the 12-hour peak.
I'm sorry.
12-hour peak, 7 to 7,
Yeah, that's correct.
and that's Monday through Monday? Monday through Sunday?
Monday through Sunday, yep.
So it is going to be used a lot. It's not just once in a while
Yeah.
bus.
That's
Okay? All right. Other comments? Yes.
Could you describe the route, both directions that the bus has to take to
Yeah.
us, please?
Yeah, you want the entire route?
No, just in this area.
Okay.
It
sure.
comes in what, eastbound on Meridian? And if you could explain how the bus needs to maneuver here, it might help.
You bet. Mary, there's a map in there that kind of shows everything with a bunch of yellow dots. Yep, perfect. Man, you're good. Okay, so the bus would travel north of Meridian. It would kind of come around that corner there, that big asphalt parking lot. That's our park and ride location. There's a little bit of a pull-off area right there, right? So the bus will come into that pull-off area. That's where we'd board in our light passengers, and then we would take off. And so then we would take off kind of off to the northeast there on South Lake Hefner Drive. And there where that yellow highlighted kind of curved area is, that's where the bus would make that left turn. It would pause there, right? So we're not just going to whip through traffic. It would pause there, make sure that it's clear. Again, that's the ask for the additional stop sign, right? So you look to your right, you see somebody at that stop sign, you wait to see what direction they're going to go, and then you can take off. So then we take off, kind of making a left turn on this South Lake Hefner Drive. Now we're going back to the northwest. And then again, at that yellow kind of curved area, we make another left turn through there. And then again, we'll pause, look to our right, again, asking for that stop sign so we can make sure that folks are stopped and it's clear to take off. And then we take off and then we start coming back south to Meridian. And then we continue south on Meridian through Northwestern every 12 minutes. Yep.
So that's
Also
how the
note-
bus turns around to get going back into the
That's
city?
right.
Okay.
And you recently just repaved all that.
We did.
I saw the
Yep,
other day.
part of the project. Yep.
I wondered why they did that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on 5E? Yes, sir.
So you said cost of construction for around about 1.5 million. How much does it cost to do these turnarounds you're doing here?
To do this is about 80,000 for the asphalt and painting.
Okay. Is there an option, working with the firm to look at some ideas, do another turnaround on the west side, that kind of south leg, and figure out how to kind of tee up the approaches to make a very odd-looking roundabout?
Yeah, so we did look at doing like T approaches. We worked with Public Works, took a look at that, and this was the recommendation coming from Public Works to do these cut-throughs.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we looked at like a T approach.
Okay.
Actually,
Then-
we said do a roundabout.
The last question, Richard, that was my question is, what was staff recommendation?
Well, the staff recommendation said no.
Roundabout.
Agreed, yep.
And had Mary pull up our speed study that we went out there, just because we looked at it. The highest speed we recorded was 40 miles an hour. Our 85th percentile was 32. It's posted 30, so actually we're doing pretty good.
And how much is a roundabout?
1.5 million.
Okay, to do a roundabout.
Yeah,
But to clarify, that's for a full-on build, brand-new roundabout?
big pretty roundabout, yeah.
Okay. And I guess my question would be, and I work at ODOT, we're a lot of rural engineers there, so we just try to scab on things. My question would be, if we were trying to do kind of that teed-up, semi-roundabout idea, how much would that be?
I don't think we got that far with that,
Okay.
cost estimate-wise.
Okay. 'Cause
Design-wise, it was,
it's a little funky looking. I would agree with that. Just that satisfies a lot of things in the near term until until Aquit would come through and do whatever they would do.
yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, but I'm still concerned because the staff recommendation is not to do this. And I don't see where the disconnect is.
Sure. So the staff recommendation was based off of, Richard, I don't want to speak for you, but what I gather is that the denial was based on the stop signs being pulled way back, and we're not doing that. Because I agree, it does make it kind of funky, right? If you're stopping 150 feet back from where you think you should be stopping. That's, yeah, we spoke with Stuart, and we're not doing that.
But your drawing here on page 10 shows stop bars back before the BRT turn, so.
Yeah, so this is what we, yeah, no, I follow you. So this is what we talked about with Stuart, was kind of adding that box, right? But the stop signs are still where the existing spot is.
So there'll be no white stripe there?
If you don't want the white stripe, we won't.
Well, I mean, because the white stripe indicates the stop line.
So we were looking to add like a do not block intersection box, right? To allow the BRT bus to get back into traffic if it backs up. Not the end of the world if that doesn't get added.
So they're gonna have to cross the lane of traffic, they're gonna exit this little turnabout, cross the lane of traffic, get in the correct lane, go up, cross the lane of traffic to get in the roundabout turn, and then do the same thing, cross the lane, get in, and then head on back to the stop.
Yep.
Because we're not having a stop sign there. We're not having a stop bar there. We're not having a clear area. Right.
So we would essentially be going behind where a car would be stopped.
Right.
Right. So that was why we were thinking maybe put the do not block box, just to allow us to get back into traffic. But
Oh, I see what you're saying, just something that if the traffic was backed up due to rush hour traffic.
that's right.
Yeah, because they're not gonna be able to get out if is there rush hour traffic that blocks up that far? In that area?
Nah.
No, I didn't think so.
I believe so.
No.
The buses are going to cause the biggest problems. And at 80 times a day, that's a problem.
And this is a solution,
I think it's a good solution, but that's just my opinion.
because those stop signs are not there, because that was our big concern. Okay. Okay, and not moving the ones that we thought was gonna be moved.
Correct.
Okay, right. Yes, sir.
Sorry.
One last question on this.
Yep.
Would yield signs not give us the same effect? No?
People yield there anyway, just to be honest with you.
Sure.
Because it's not real heavily trafficked with cars. And the buses are just going to cause the problem making a roundabout there.
What's the lighting like?
The lighting? The lighting is terrible.
It's
However,
non-existent.
However, part of this project, we're adding LED lighting at this triangle about.
And you mentioned in your drawing these are flashing stop signs.
Yeah.
That'll help
Hopefully
a lot.
get your attention, right?
Could the lighting be something that's incorporated into this application as a condition?
Yeah, I mean, Stuart's already written the letter to OG&E. We're moving forward. We just have to get a funding source for it.
Because my concern is after dark with every 12 minutes a bus at this complicated situation. I would feel a lot better about it if we had a guarantee that it was lit.
We've already ordered lighting from OG&E.
Okay.
And so there's obviously, could be a time, right? It takes a little bit of time to get light poles installed. Embark is going to, as long as nobody has an issue with it, we plan on installing some portable lights at the intersection because we're going to be running pre-revenue service here starting November, just to try to make it a little bit safer. That was another one of our safety concerns that popped up, and that's how we plan to mitigate it. Yep.
Right, and so,
So that's my second.
so the pre-travel work starts next month.
That's right.
When does the revenue start?
December 3rd.
December 3rd.
Yep.
And this is what again? What's this bus route? This bus route
It's
is?
we call it the Rapid Northwest. It's the bus rapid transit system.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. All right, any other talk on this item? Okay, we have a motion to approve item 5E from Commissioner Littlefield, seconded by Commissioner Varnell. Okay, and time to vote here in a second. Or am I waiting? Oh, I'm on the wrong one. It's me, sorry. I was like, why was it moving? There we go. I've done my duty. Okay, item is approved, but all in favor.
Thank you.
All right.
Sorry for the confusion. Thank you.
Okay, item 5F, we have some information from staff on item 5F.
Yes, sir. The Applicant Daniel Ross, the original applicant on this, has requested a continuance until the November meeting because he is not able to be here today.
Okay, can we have a motion concerning item 5F?
Continuance?
Motion to continue from Commissioner Varnell. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Hale. Any discussion? Okay, motion to continue to the November meeting by Commissioner Varnell, seconded by Commissioner Hale. And we're ready to vote, and just let the record show that Commissioner Cornett has left a horseshoe for right now. And item has approved, 7 in favor, 2 not up on the horseshoe. Okay, we go on now to item 5G, Ryan Smith, PE, Senior Engineering Project Manager, Smith Roberts, to consider some reserve parking for the physically disabled, and that's up on the screen. Hi, sir, can I have your name and address? You have 5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Ryan Smith, 100 Northeast 5th Street. I'm with SRB, as was stated, on behalf of John Rex Elementary School. And we are requesting an additional ADA parking space on Dewey near the intersection at Sheridan Avenue.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Anybody else wanted to speak on item 5G? Okay. Staff, do you have your input, please?
Mr. Smith is a senior project manager for Smith Roberts. On behalf of John Rex, is requesting a reserved parking space for the physically disabled on the east side of South Dewey Avenue, south of West Sheridan. The applicant is proposing to convert part of the passenger loading zone in the parallel parking lay-by on the east side of South Dewey Avenue to a reserved parking space for the physically disabled. This will increase the total number of structured parking spaces on the subject block by 1 space to 20 spaces. Since the total of structured parking spaces around the circular block will be 20, the 3 reserved parking spaces for physically disabled appear to exceed the required minimum number required to meet the ratio of 1 space for the physically disabled per 25. In his letter, Mr. Smith indicates the superintendent for John Rex Charter School, Mr. Duffy, is seeking a partial conversion of the loading zone to a reserved parking space for the physically disabled to meet the needs of a current student that utilizes both walker and wheelchair. The applicant has submitted construction documents showing modification of the existing sidewalk to accommodate a wheelchair ramp and to make the requested parking space fully accessible, and will bear responsibility for construction. Actions at the discretion.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have a motion concerning item 5G?
I'd like to move approval.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Cornett. And do we have a
Second.
second by Commissioner George? Any discussion? Okay, motion to approve 5G from Commissioner Cornett, seconded by Commissioner George. Votes, please. Item is approved. All in favor. Okay, 5H. A whole bunch of stuff for you all to read out there. I'm not reading it.
Do we need to vote for another?
You need to vote for it. If you want to read it, you can vote. All right, so planning director. We got somebody here to speak from the planning department. Can I have your name and address, please?
Hi, Justin Henry, again from the Planning Department, 420 West Main Street, representing the Planning Director here today. Excited to bring you this project. It's been in the works for a couple of years now. We've been working with the Public Works Department on designing this first example of parking protected bike lanes in Oklahoma City. And so got some example photos in here, I believe, that kind of show you some of the diagrams, what it's going to look like. Part of the reason that this project has taken a while is we've done a lot of public engagement, meeting with the community, and then working with the property owners that had a lot of existing non-compliant angled parking along the street, and trying to find a way that we could balance that and bring it into compliance as part of the project. For those of you who aren't familiar with parking protected bike lanes, it'll have the bike lane up against the curb, and then it'll have the parking on the outside of the bike lane with a buffer in between. So this ends up providing an additional protection for cyclists as the parked cars are along the street. That'll be kind of the condition on Lottie north of 13th up to 23rd Street. South of 13th, there is no existing parking, so it'll just be a typical Tier 1 bike lane. Yeah, plenty of good pictures, and then I think, yeah. All right, so here's kind of the subject area and a couple of other bike facilities that are in the works right now to kind of help give some context. Northeast 4th Street is having bike lanes added as a part of MAPS 4, and then you can see some of the other projects that we connect to as well. Here's an example of how it's going to kind of connect into the larger network and provide some additional access to some places. Right? And then again, here's just one example sheet from the plan set kind of showing how the angle parking would work. Again, there's typically kind of a 4-lane section that's median divided right now. This does remove one travel lane, but that outside travel lane had parking allowed right now, and so this kind of formalizes the parking. It has the setbacks from driveways to kind of increase that safety feature. Here's an example picture from another city of what parking protected bike lanes typically look like. Yeah, as part of, I kind of mentioned our public engagement. As part of that, we sent out postcards to all the affected residents. We had a community meeting at Amos Baptist Church, they're located there on Lottie. Got some good feedback from the community. Found some concerned property owners. So here's kind of some pictures from that public meeting where we discussed it with some of the residents. And then here's some of the affected property owners that we kind of worked extra with. You could tell that the way that existing conditions were, you had a lot of cars that were in overly shallow parking stalls that were kind of hanging out into the lane a little bit, and so we adjusted that as part of it as well. So happy to answer any questions you have about the project.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thanks.
Anybody else want to speak on 5H? Yes, sir, please.
But I drive for a Lyft, and anything you can do to improve Lottie, I would vote.
Well, okay, staff?
Yes, Mr. Butler, the planning director, has submitted the request to restructure North Lottie Avenue from a 4-lane roadway to a 2-lane roadway with parking protected bike lanes on both sides of the street as part of Oklahoma City Project PC 0738 Lottie Bicycle Infrastructure Project. Staff has no other comments. Action is at the discretion of the commission.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion concerning item 5H?
I would like to move approval.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Cornett.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Schuline. Do we have any discussion on this? Yes, sir.
I have what I think is an obvious question. Why are we not talking about reverse angle parking here?
No.
This project, as we were working with the owners, there's fairly limited parking on the street right now. The thought process was that when we talked to these owners, we really kind of negotiated out some of these parking arrangements with them, and they were uncomfortable with the reverse angle parking at this time. But we also have more space to work with here than we had on 39th Street as well, so there's a pretty healthy setback between the depth of the parking stall and the bike lane. So there's more room to kind of reverse back.
But we have a Tier 1 bike facility we're putting in here,
Yeah,
and we're not going to put in the reverse angle parking.
correct.
Well,
Protected.
yeah, it's Tier 1 only when there's no parking. When there is parking, it's a...
No, it's still Tier 1, it's just protected by
Well, that's what
cars
I'm- okay,
versus
I'm sorry.
protected by stanchions, yeah. So
Right, so-
this is a safer option than reverse angle parking.
Yeah, this is even said, because this one,
But yeah, the parallel parking, that makes perfect sense to me. I'm with that. But there are areas that we're going to do normal angle parking that's going to go across that bike lane, right?
no. It's going to go on the left of it with the bike by the sidewalk.
Which one's true?
Okay, so in the instances, only those 3 spots where there's existing angled parking, there will be angled parking up against those storefronts, and the bike lane will go behind it. The rest of the street will have parallel parking on the left side of the bike lane. If that makes sense.
And that makes sense, and so I've been to Tulsa, they have that where the bike lanes in there. Makes sense enough, but I guess my big question is, if we're talking about doing normal forward angle parking on this tier 1, it seems like we'd be talking about reverse angle parking instead.
Right.
On those 3 spots.
On those 3 spots where we're talking about doing the angle parking.
Yeah, part of the reason the reverse angle parking happened on 39th Street is because there was existing bike lanes that were taken away when we did the street enhancement, and we really narrowed it in because the big request of the district was that they wanted more on-street parking. So we tried to maximize that. We did it at the expense of the bike lanes, and the engineer solution for how to make the now shared facility safer was to have the reverse angle parking. So they felt like they were adding a safety element that made the shared bike lanes, the shared facility safer. If that makes any sense.
I guess one of the things is anytime we're looking at the angled parking here, there's a concrete median, with the grass median in between. So it would actually prevent anyone from doing the wrong parking potentially, correct?
Yeah.
Seems like this is a slam dunk.
If you want to offer to amend it to include reverse angle parking.
Well, that's the point that was brought up on the 39th Street was because there's no median.
Right.
People were cutting across and driving straight in.
It's true, yeah.
Where this one, you're saying there is a median, right?
There is,
And there's
yes.
going to be a median,
Yes,
it's going
there
to
is a
stay.
median, yeah.
So the only way to get in there would be to back in.
Yeah.
Unless you wanted to try to.
That's true, yeah.
And you're saying that the owner at that place didn't like reverse angle? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, correct. When we worked with those property owners, they were not amenable to that. We kind of went above and beyond here because typically all their real angled parking really is in the public right-of-way here, and so we're trying to accommodate and be generous to this neighborhood that we're already kind of putting a brand new type of facility in, and so.
No. I'm just glad to hear the planning department and the city of Oklahoma City is very open to what the will of the people and the businesses really want out of it. So
The 39th Street situation was a negotiation with the district that resulted in that.
yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
Noted. Okay. Any other discussion on 5H? Is that where we're at? Okay. All right, so we have a motion to approve 5H from Commissioner Cornett, seconded by Commissioner Schuline, and we're ready to vote. And we're voting. And item has passed with all in favor. Okay, we go on now to item 5I. Dinah Strube, all-way stop control, Sawgrass Road and Northwest 118th Street. Do we have anybody here to speak on this item? Hello, ma'am. When you get on up here, can I have your name and address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Diane Strube, I live at 11900 Sawgrass Road. When the city posted yield signs at the intersection of Sawgrass and 118th, it was 20 years ago when our addition was first started. We only had one section. Now we have 7 sections, and there's 450 homes. We also have Hidden Creek addition to the north of us, which is around 400 homes. We have a retail center at 122nd and MacArthur. We have a lot of we have a lot of cars going around the intersection at 122nd and MacArthur through our addition. We only have 2 yield signs on Sawgrass. No one stops there. They don't yield. They don't stop, they don't yield. Therefore, we have 4 traffic from 4 directions traveling down the road. You did your stops where you measured the traffic. It was on a slow day. They weren't speeding. We have 3 exits from our addition. That's the only stop signs in our addition. There's either no yield sign or yields. We have children playing on 118th, walking down to the Greenbelt. We have a lot of walkers. We have a lot of dog walkers. A lot of near-miss accidents. We have children on bicycles. This intersection is the busiest and most dangerous in our neighborhood, not only with the vehicles, but failure to yield also. We have near-miss accidents daily, sometimes hourly. When I hear brakes or horns, I go out to make sure my mailbox is still standing. It's going to be wiped out one of these days. As far as I know, there's been 3 accidents I've witnessed. I have the police report on one of them. It was December 31st of 21. The other 2 were, I'm not sure who they involved, but all 3 accidents had vehicles towed off. Because of the new system that the police department has, I wasn't able to get those other dates, but there has been 3. Any questions? I'm sure I left something
No,
out.
you're fine. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, anybody else wanted to speak? Yes, sir, if I could have your name and address, and did you fill out
Ricky
one of
Carr,
these? Yeah, make sure to
53.
fill one of these out afterwards.
I did I fill it? Yeah.
Oh, you got it. There it is, I got it. Okay, very good.
5300 Northwest 117th. Now, first, let me just say, it's nice to be here today, and y'all are way smarter than me because I've been confused since I got here, so just doing the deals. But I've lived in the neighborhood for 8.5 years. It is a neighborhood that has a lot of senior citizens, and we have a lot of children as well. When you come into the neighborhood, there's really 3 ways in off of 122nd and 2 off of MacArthur. The one off of 122nd, you have to go maybe 800 yards to the next intersection. It is a yield intersection at that particular point. The one on the far south side of MacArthur comes in, it's a very short distance, and it is a yield sign. The one we're talking about is a long way up a hill to the first crossover. And this is really the only crossover section street that we have in our neighborhood where there's not just a 3-way. And the 3-way goes all the way up to the very next street where there is a yield sign for going right or left. But the challenge here is that people come up that hill, and not that we speed in our neighborhood, because we don't, but that you're gaining speed as you go up that hill. And people coming from the north to the south, if they don't pay attention, there's almost no way. We have a lot of neighborhood gatherings, and at our neighborhood gatherings, there are always stories of the near misses that have happened that week. And most nights when you're out there in the neighborhood on the driveway discussions where everybody has popped their soda pop, I'm sure they're drinking, that it always comes up who had a near miss and who almost got hit. It is a section of road there with all the traffic that we have, again, as she mentioned, with the new additions to the neighborhoods and so forth, that it is a hazard. I don't know that it actually met your standards for what you would need to have as 4-way stop there, but as a resident of the neighborhood, I can assure you it is a dangerous intersection. We're just waiting for someone to go too fast, and we have a fatality in that area. And we would certainly be appreciative and very grateful if the council could see their way to allowing us to have a 4-way stop there, because we believe it would, in the future, cause us from having to be back here again saying this is what happened and we were before you before and nothing was done. So we do appreciate your time, and we hope that this is something you'll pass for us.
All right, thank you, sir. And I believe, ma'am, you wanted to speak? And I have your piece of paper. If I have your name and address, you got 5 minutes.
My name is Betsy Caldwell. I live at 5604 Northwest 118th. My house is not on the corner, but I am 1 removed from the intersection. And I've lived in that neighborhood about 3.5 years. I'd only lived there a couple of months when one of the wrecks happened that actually took a Toyota Tundra and completely spun it around. It had been going east, and suddenly it was facing west because someone blew the yield sign. They just are not regarded. There's a whole lot of us, me included, that do walk our dogs in the neighborhood. And a lot of us come to walk around the pond, and we come from the south and the west, and so we're all going through that intersection on our, pedestrian. And it's a daily occurrence, and it's a couple of times occurrence a day. There's screeching brakes, there's people hollering at each other. If we're out in the yard, it's just, it's very, very common. So we really would like to have, some stop signs so that the yield signs that don't do any good, because they don't do any good. So thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Anybody else want to speak on item 5I? Please, come on up, ma'am.
I forgot to tell you, I am on the corner, and my driveway is about 60 feet from the intersection. There's 4 driveways right there together. When we back out, and my husband has a long bed truck, there's no trucks or there's no cars coming, but by the time we back up, there's a car coming around the corner. They're right there on our tail. We're going to get rear-ended any day. And that's not about speed, that's just because they don't stop. Well, they don't have a yield, but they need to stop
Yes,
to allow
ma'am.
us more time. Thank
Very
you.
good, thank you. Anybody else, 5I? Okay, staff input?
Thank you. Mr. Straub has presented a request for an all-way stop control at the intersection of Sawgrass Road and Northwest 118th. The total traffic entering volume on Sawgrass Road approaches is 664 vehicles per day and 655 vehicles per day on Northwest 118th. The Sawgrass Road traffic entering volume is equal to the Northwest 118th Street entering volume, which satisfies the city's always stop control criteria, which requires the minor street volume to be within 80% of the major street volume. The total traffic entering volume of 1,319 vehicles per day is less than the city's always stop control criteria of traffic entering volume of 2,500 for an intersection with 4 approaches. No collisions were recorded at the intersection in 2021. The intersection therefore does not meet the city's traffic volume or collision experience criteria for use of an all-way stop control. The intersection does not meet the city's or the MUTCD's always stop control criteria, and the available decision site distance looking in all directions at the intersection meets or exceeds the city's minimum requirements. The applicant has provided a petition demonstrating local support for the requested traffic control change. Excuse me. Action on the matter is at the discretion of the commission.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion concerning item 5I?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move approval of the application
We have a motion.
for all the reasons stated by the neighbors and the fact that there's 100%, everybody voted that they wanted this. Everyone in the neighborhood that voted yes to put that in.
Okay, we have a motion to approve item 5I from Commissioner George. Do we have a second?
Second from Varnell.
He can take it.
You can add. We'll go to, which one are you pointing to, sir? Varnell, okay. We have a second from Commissioner Varnell. Any discussion? Okay.
If I may?
Please.
All of us are completely sympathetic to this. It happens in every neighborhood. It's extremely common. The resolution, stop signs are designed to control the flow of traffic, manage the flow of traffic. They may not be any more effective than your yield signs. There's a possibility of that. So for that reason, over the course of a number of years, this body has established a program called the Alternative Speed Abatement Program. And I'm curious if there was any conversation with this group. To me, it seems like a perfect candidate for a mini roundabout or some other traffic calming measure to help resolve this in these signs.
I'm going to speak up. I don't think the issue here is speed at all. And I've helped Ms. Struby get this on this docket today over the last 6 months, and one of my best friends is on this petition that signed it. He lives on Sawgrass, and it's not a speed issue, even though the street is very wide. When you're going eastbound on 118th, there's the rock wall there that kind of blocks some of the sight lines a little bit, and you come around that corner. I'm not so sure this is a perfect spot for a roundabout or a speed abatement program. I think the stop signs will do exactly what we're intending them to do. That's just my opinion.
But that's a good point.
Was it discussed, though? Were the options?
I'm not aware of any discussion on that.
Right, but a intersection like this in a neighborhood where it has matching traffic flow and it's nice and big, you could put in a roundabout, traffic would keep flowing, and so that could have been an option, and this would have been a place that one could have been done.
With the number of vehicles,
Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, just as easy to just stop.
and something nobody mentioned from Glenhurst is the library wasn't there.
Yeah,
We didn't even talk about the library. I'll cut through there on my way home today because I'm going to pick up something from the library. And I go right by there, this intersection every time. I really think these stop signs will
No, that's fine.
fix a majority of their issues.
But yeah, but a roundabout, we need to think what would be a good spot for, it, and why would you put a roundabout somewhere else and not here? That's a good point. Okay? So any other discussion on 5I? Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner George, seconded by Commissioner Barnell. We're ready to vote. And the item is approved. We're all in favor. All right, thank you very much, everybody. Okay, comments from citizens. Anybody out there want to talk to us? Any more?
Thank you all for being so patient.
Yes.
That was a long meeting.
Yeah, it's a tough one to be at the end. Okay, nothing from citizenship, so we'll go to traffic commissioners. Commissioner Varnell.
I've abstained the last several months, so I'll talk this month. I keep going back to this 39th Street thing, and we can't go backwards. We can't go backwards, and I wish I could, because there's a lot of us on this commission that weren't here 3.5 years ago when we first approved that. And I think some of us are trying to right a wrong, but I don't think this is wrong. This 39th, what we have now, is wrong. And I look forward to the new information we're gonna get. And I didn't want to bring this up earlier because it didn't matter. I saw where this was going early in the discussion. So I would encourage everybody on the commission to go out there, park your car, reverse angle it in there, look around, kind of check it out during peak hours to really think about what we're going to vote on in 4 months, not 3.
Okay, to Commissioner Littlefield.
Gosh, I appreciate that. I never would have dreamed in this work all the years that I've been sitting here that all of us would be put in a position where we would be the considerers of a new thing. And it's just as difficult for us to embrace new things as it is the folks that are being affected by it on the street. But I'm still a believer, given all of the reasons why reverse angle parking was agreed to be put on that street at the very beginning, why it's important to keep it there. I really appreciate it. It's a tough one, and I appreciate how complicated this is for all of us. It isn't an easy one at all. But I think backpedaling on it would be a really, really difficult thing for this community, given what's going to be happening on 39th Street at Penn, going eastbound to Classen Boulevard. This isn't the finality of the bike structure that's going to be there. We have to really consider that. So I know I'm still preaching, I know I'm still doing my politics, but it's important for me to make that comment too. It's more specifically about how much I appreciate the dialogue and the learning.
Well, and just on the 39th, while we're talking about it, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump here. Is there anything we can put on the yellow lines, yellow poles to just, I mean, I kind of talked about it, I think, 3.5 years ago, that was my thing, and the word was, well, that's not streetscape nice and all that kind of thing.
There is. We do have some options there. And I've sent a couple of emails while we've been sitting here to some public works folks to talk about some of that. There's a lot of ranges of options. You could do something like a delineators that would separate the sides more. You could do something as simple as the ceramic buttons that you put down on the lines themselves, have reflectors on both sides, and that would give you some kind of feedback if you were pulling over it. They're like, oh, okay, maybe this doesn't. I'm noticing something when and it makes it feel a little more separated. So
Now,
there's options.
honestly, if there's no barrier in the road,
Yeah.
then you have to put a barrier in the road, because people will do it. And I think they just will. Yeah. So it's going to take those 3-foot yellow stakes in my mind. Okay. Not saying that's what we want, but that's what it's going to take. We'll go to Commissioner Hale.
Nothing, sir.
Commissioner Schuline.
I wanted to raise an issue about Western Gateway Elementary. I got a complaint forwarded to me by a mother, I think, that has children there, and she's been applying for a school zone, designation as a school zone. Western Gateway is located on Southwest 15th and McKinley, between McKinley and Douglas. It's a really odd, it kind of dead ends at the Wheeler District. Douglas does, and 15th Street comes straight from Will Rogers Courts, Public Housing Edition. There's no stop control on McKinley, Southwest 15th, Will Rogers Court. It's a new school, a bilingual school, a very nice school. Anyway, I did drive by it a couple times yesterday, and definitely it needs, if we could do something as far as, I'm sure a lot of children do walk from Will Rogers Courts to the school, and so just some kind of traffic control. The speed limit's probably only 25 anyway, but with flashing yellow lights or something that we could do to make it safer for the kids.
If the speed limit's 25, we cannot put flashing yellow lights up.
I see them in other parts of town, do they not? Like in Crown Heights on Walker?
We cannot do it. You lowered the speed limit in Crown Heights. The school zone through there was existing before the speed limit was lowered to 25. In the ordinance code, it has to be 30 or above to put in flashing school zones.
So do you
But
how about a crosswalk?
are the crosswalks
Yeah,
marked correctly
crosswalk,
or anything?
something.
Something like that? Could you maybe go out there and take a look and talk to the school principal?
Yeah, usually we get a request from the principal. That's the protocol, it seems like generally, but in this case, there's a complaint from a citizen, and it seems like, driving by it definitely could use some help. But if staff could look at that.
We can certainly look at it.
I appreciate it.
Very good.
I have a question. If the speed limit were reduced to 20, could a school zone, flashing yellow school zone be installed in that case?
No, sir.
No, okay.
It has, the posted speed limit of the road must be 30 miles an hour or higher
Got
to
it.
get a flashing school zone.
I got it, okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so staff will go out there and look at that and talk to the school principal and see what he might want. Okay? Go to Commissioner Wynn.
Nothing.
Commissioner George.
I don't think so. Yeah, I guess you could petition to raise the speed limit to 30.
There you go. All right, we have a new captain on the horseshoe. Oh, again, Commissioner Cornett. You don't have anything to say, do you?
Well, I was going to say,
Sorry.
speaking of school zones, we actually, did you notice that in the approved stoplights that we just got that list is one of the ones outside of John Rex? Yeah. And so I think it's going in, I talked to somebody a couple of months ago, and I think it's going to go in the next calendar year, which is really exciting. That was one that we were like hemming and hawing about, and it's going in, and I'm excited about that. And I was glad the Superintendent Duffy was here to get that news. Anyway, thank you for giving me my turn.
Okay, and just to make it all clear, would you like to talk any more, ma'am? I gave you 2. Everybody else got 1, okay? Okay, so we got a new officer here. We no longer have the Bricktown captain. We have the motor captain. So they're doing a motor kind of thing. And so he's going to represent because it's traffic-y, like us. Right? Am I right? Is that it? Traffic-y?
Yes, thank you for the warm welcome. I appreciate that. I will report back on that extra patrol at 15th Street. Yes, for Commissioner Schuline. They did 14 and a half hours and they made 50 contacts. And on 21st Street, they did 11.75 hours with 35 contacts. The total is 85 contacts. So there's your report.
Thank you very much. By chance, do you have kind of a sense for how many of the contacts were with neighborhood residents, or were they mostly cut through traffic?
I do not. It's just a very vanilla report I have here.
That's
Sorry.
super. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Counselor, anything else? Did we do okay for you? We have a new counselor with us, too.
Now, they told me these were really short.
Well, yes, ma'am. Yeah, this one's a little long. Blame him. Well,
No, it's very interesting.
all right, so thank you for your help on your thing. Staff, you have anything else?
Nothing else today, thank you.
Okay, any other business for the Traffic and Transportation Commission? All right, we are adjourned.